Mike Hennessey. Michael, good morning.
Good morning.
You're running for county executive.
I hope to be. My petitions got challenged last Wednesday. But,
they did? Okay.
Yeah.
Who does the challenging on that?
Gentleman named Genovese. I'm not familiar with him.
Okay. All right. And you'll be running on the Democratic line.
Democratic line.
And what would you do differently?
Well, I think number one is we have to restore fiscal responsibility back to the county. We have runaway government spending in Oneida County. I think that you look at the debt service that we have in this county, it's doubled to $5.2 million a year of the budget. Small percentage of the budget, but it's growing. And that's money you might as well just have throw out the window on the 10th floor because it provides no services, it provides no economic benefit. So as we spend more money or bond for more money, that's only going to increase. So number one, we got to restore fiscal responsibility. Number two, I'd like to see our infrastructure efforts be expanded as far as money. I think as we take the $19 million from the Oneidas, that part of it should go back into infrastructure. If you go through the towns, the roads are in terrible shape. You go to Utica, Rome, the sidewalks are terrible. So I'd like to work with the city governments to make sure they're getting some money from this.
Okay.
So we can improve the infrastructure.
Just to follow up, and you mentioned the $19 million from the Oneidas. I believe you had said at your announcement the other day that some of that money, more of that money, or a chunk of that money, should be spent in Verona, Sherrill, Oneida, things like that, where they're the closest to the Oneida Nation. Will you talk more about
the
that?
Impacted area? Well, even the governor out in Buffalo said that the impacted areas should be getting the most of the money. And in the Niagara agreement, and also in Salamanca and in Buffalo, it's the towns that are impacted to get the money. For example, Niagara Falls, when the Senecas are paying, they're not paying right now. They are in a dispute with the state of New York. But, for example, 2 years ago, I think it was, the last time they were paying was about $18 million. And $15 million went directly to the city of Niagara Falls. The county only got $1 million. And then transportation in the Niagara Falls area got the remaining amount of money. So that we're the only deal where the money goes to the county executive after the state gets it. It usually goes from the Indians to the state to the local impacted area. See, this is found money. This is not, in my opinion, money that, when I was in county legislature, we didn't have that money. We didn't have that kind of extra money. I think some should go in a rainy day fund. Some should go to more should go to local impacted areas, probably from $1.5 million to $3 to $4 million. And then some go into infrastructure to the whole area. And like I said, I'd like to reallocate the allotment at this point.
Do you support the agreement that exists, the $19 million payment that's currently
I
being
didn't.
made?
I was the city commissioner in Shell. I was the one of the five that voted against it. I felt the contract was so one-sided. For example, if the city of Sherrill had taken the money for a few years, let's say 4 years, we would have probably built up about $1 million. If we had to sue the Indians, we'd have to pay back the $1 million plus 9% interest. So it was very one-sided contract. Now, here he comes back to redo the contracts. There's no reason why we should be redoing a contract. The contract is a contract, and it's enforceable by both parties. But, talking to various town officials and some people in the city of Sherrill, they feel something's better than nothing, and that's been their attitude. But, again, if the city of Sherrill had violated that contract, I know for a fact Tony Pesanti would be coming back and requesting and getting that money back plus the interest. So, again, it's a very one-sided contract, and as is the new contract they're trying to renegotiate.
Go ahead.
Where do you stand on the distribution of sales tax?
Distribution of sales tax?
Yeah.
As far as I'm currently in favor of the current way we do sales taxes. And I know New Hartford would like more, et cetera, and I'd like to see the sales tax lowered, to be honest with you. Most of the counties around Oneida County are a quarter to a half point lower. I was the leader that helped push Mr. Griffo into cutting the sales tax, as the Rome paper that back then said better late than never.
Yeah.
And that was my quote. But again, I'd like to see it come down a little bit.
I know no one likes writing an 8 3/4 sales tax, right, when it's high, but
well, it's also spread around the area, outside of the area. Excuse me. That in the people know Oneida County has a high sales tax, and they don't really know the rate from outside the area, but they just see us as having a high sales tax. Why does a business person want to bring a business in the area where they're going to have to pay a quarter or a half point higher?
Well, the business person doesn't pay it; the consumer pays it.
No, there's called the user's tax. It's tied to the state sales tax. When a business buys something, even if it's from outside the state, they have to pay the sales tax or the user's tax on that amount of money. It's the same rate.
Can I ask you though? And I mentioned this going back a few weeks. If you cut it down to 8%, right, from 8 3/4
I don't
to
think
8,
we could go that low. No.
right? Because that's a huge loss financially.
Right.
So, what would you propose? A quarter, a half percent?
I'd like to see us at 8.5.
8.5. So a quarter. So for every $100 you spend or I spend, we save 25 cents.
Right.
And that amounts to about $7 million a year, right?
It's about 7. It might be a little higher, but yeah.
Okay,
close,
let's say
close,
8 million.
close.
In order to make that up, you have to raise everyone's property taxes, don't you?
I believe there's $7-8 million in this budget we can find to cut back.
Where would you cut?
Well, the first cut would be at Edge. We have now dual purposes in this county. We have
an economic director now and Edge, which
right.
It's been said that they have two different objectives.
Right. Well, the main objective is to try to provide jobs for young people, and neither is working right now. We're in a 10-year economic growth, maybe one of the biggest in history, and in the country and in the states. I mean, you go outside the state of New York, or upstate New York, part of it at least, it's booming.
Yeah.
And what's the common factor? Mr. Pasanti is a nice person. I've been told, I've had different opinions at times, but we haven't succeeded in any private sector business, which I've been working all my life, that you have to have results.
All right, I want to go to Larry on line number 2 with a question for Mike. Larry, you're on the radio. Good morning.
I got a question to follow up. Does
Okay.
he know if the state or the county have an auditor that goes in the casino and makes sure they get the correct amount from the slot machine revenue?
Well, I know in the county, and this is a good point, we don't have an auditor. The controller's office says at the desk on the wall there that it's audit and control, but Joe would be the first person to tell you we don't have a true auditor.
And I'm going to tell you the state doesn't either. So my question to you is, why would the Indians give you the correct amount? What would behoove them to take it out of their pocket? So if you send an auditor in, you're going to get more money for the county.
You might. It'd be difficult. I think a lot of that can be hidden. But more importantly, I think that...
well, I don't think legally that could even be done. Anyway.
Yeah, right now. I was going to say that.
Right.
That we couldn't do that. That's not in the agreement. And I think the state has some provision, but the county doesn't.
All right, Larry, thanks. Interesting question there. But one would think that when you say some were believing, well, something's better than nothing. And I understand the Oneidas have an issue with the word tax. Right. So this is an agreement that was put together. There's no doubt at this point it's a benefit, the fact that this money is coming in.
And it's gone up. I've been surprised. I voted, like I said, not on that agreement. I wasn't.
Knowing what you know today, would your vote have changed?
No, because there's other issues involved.
Okay. But
no.
you're
on the money side of it has worked out better than I thought it would.
Yeah.
But the new agreement with the local communities is wrong.
You feel, and it's interesting when you look out to the Senecas. Obviously, Niagara Falls is the big city out there. It's the big tourism. It does make sense to see that money go there. Here, how is it distributed here, and what is your issue with it?
Well, the local areas including the schools, get 1.5 million of the 19, and you go to Niagara Falls, it's the opposite. My problem with it is, the local area isn't asking for or expecting 19 million, but 1.5 with the 2 schools, and I guess he's eliminating the small schools, Stockbridge and Madison. But when you share that with 6, 7 entities, that's not a lot of money.
John in Bridgewater, you're on.
Hey, Mr. Hennessey, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, I got a question for you. I know you're running for, it's up here in the Oneida County area, but you're a Democrat, right?
Yes, I am.
Well, how about some of the stuff that Cuomo's pushing on upstate New Yorkers? High taxes, he wants free college for everybody, and that affects us taxpayers too, don't it?
Yes, it does. And
that affects everything up here also.
One of the things you're going to find with me that I'm an independent Democrat. My policies, especially on fiscal issues, are conservative. I have, when I see something being wrong within my party, I bring it out. That's why I didn't get the executive committee's endorsement. I did all the petitioning with a group of friends in the cold and the snow in March, and we're here. We're here on some serious issues. When the financial platforms put together, you're going to see our differences, and you're going to see more fiscal responsibility put in place in Oneida County, and we're going to cut spending.
Mike Hennessey running against Tony Picenti as the Oneida County executive race. Leo is in Waterville with a question. The last one I'm going to be able to squeeze in here. Leo, you're on the radio. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to go back to that sales tax comment that he just made and support the other part there where it said, if we lower that sales tax, that means the property owners have to make that up. When he says there's a amount in the budget that we could use, that's not going to always be there. And if we cut that sales tax, even though we don't like it, we're going to lose money. We recover that money with the Boilermaker, the Heart Run. People come into our area and spend money, so we can recover that.
And you're saying it would fall on to the backs of property owners if
absolutely
to make up for that. All right.
Leo's 100% right.
Mike, what's your take?
My take on it is that we have a $420 million budget. When I left, I think it was about $330 million 6-8 years ago. Spending's out of control. We've got to cut spending first and foremost. Second, I'll look at ways to getting some tax breaks into the county, be it in property tax cuts or sales tax cut. Sales tax revenue also has the effect of keeping people away from Oneida County. In tourism, we've built up a number of hotels. We have restaurants right off the thruway. I'd like to see working on cutting out the bed tax. People say you're crazy. It's only $500,000 of $412 million. How many more people would come to off the thruway in Utica if they knew they didn't have to pay a bed tax?
Do you think people really check that?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
I hear that.
Fair enough. Out of time. We'll do it again.
Thank you.
Mike Hennessey, thanks so much.
Yep.